I had been with Lucas Carter for 10 years. Right before our wedding day, I caught him fooling around with his secretary. The corner of a black stocking sticking out through the office door completely collapsed every last line of defense in my heart. I went insane, like some crazed woman in the marketplace, charging in and screaming. Lucas pulled her behind his back, and then, right in front of everyone, he raised his hand and slapped me. "Can you stop acting like a lunatic?" he barked. I stared at the woman, smirking triumphantly behind him, my eyes burning red like blood. That very day, I moved out of the place I shared with Lucas Carter. I didn't need him anymore. If I had to, I could marry someone else just fine. I had been with him for 10 years, and we were only a few days away from the wedding. Marrying Lucas Carter had been the dream I'd chased all these years because I truly loved him. Back when we were still in college, the two of us had started with nothing. I had handed out flyers with him, slept with him in damp basements. There were times we were so poor that the two of us only dared to share a single packet of instant noodles. And during those days, he promised me he would never let me down. From our sophomore year until now, he had already become the boss of a publicly listed company. We had always been together. Our feelings had never changed. And now, we were about to step into a new journey, married life. I had been looking forward to it so much. Our friends were happy for me. He personally arranged every part of the wedding. The venue was exactly the one I had dreamed of. He took everything very seriously. He told me, "Emma, I'll definitely make you happy." So when I saw that black stocking sticking out from the not fully closed door of the lounge inside Lucas's office, I honestly couldn't believe my own eyes. Not until I heard a woman's coquettish, spoiled voice, followed by Lucas's teasing, full of satisfaction. My feet felt glued to the floor. I couldn't lift them at all. My eyes were fixed on the lounge door. A woman stepped out, her collar crooked, red marks still visible on her neck, her face flushed. It was Lucas's secretary, Vivian Lane. Right behind her was Lucas Carter, already fully dressed again. Seeing the two of them felt like someone had slammed a club down on my head. My mind went blank for several seconds. When I finally reacted, I felt all the blood in my body rush straight to my head. At that moment, they also realized I was there. The ridiculous thing was that I was still clear-headed enough to notice their expressions. One pale with panic, the other, though frightened, unable to hide the joy in her eyes. I barely had time to wonder what she was so happy about. Her smile simply made me feel like the most pathetic clown. I snapped and charged forward, swinging my hand and slapping her across the face. My chest heaved violently. I had to use every bit of strength I had just to keep myself from falling apart. My voice came out hoarse from my throat. "You bitch, Lucas Carter, explain this to me clearly." Vivian's face turned bright red from my slap, tears immediately spilling as she looked toward Lucas with hesitant, pitiful eyes, her voice trembling. "Mr. Carter." My hands were itching again, and before Lucas could say anything, I rushed forward, grabbed Vivian by the collar, and slapped both sides of her face. The employees behind us rushed in to separate us, but the one they pulled back was Vivian, to the point she didn't even have a chance to fight back. Lucas's expression, which had been panicked at first, gradually twisted into something more and more unpleasant. After Vivian, her face streaked with tears, cried again while calling, "Lucas, please." He immediately stepped forward, pulled me away, and slapped me across the face without a moment's hesitation. He roared in fury, "Emma Carter, can you stop acting like some crazy woman from the street market already?" That slap was truly hard. I was knocked to the floor, my cheek burning until it went numb. My ears rang in waves. I couldn't hear anything clearly anymore. Through my blurry vision, I saw Lucas Carter look like he wanted to step forward, but someone held him back. This was the first time Lucas had ever hit me. It took me a long moment before I slowly lifted my head. I saw the female secretary hiding behind Lucas, smiling smugly. My eyes turned bloodshot again, and when I glanced back at Lucas, I saw a flash of regret and worry in his eyes. It didn't look fake, but the guilt in his expression was real too. I stood up slowly, staring him straight in the eyes, and then I raised my hand and slapped him back. "Good job, Lucas Carter." Tears streamed down uncontrollably. Lucas panicked and tried to step forward to explain, but the woman behind him clung to him and refused to let go. She kept crying and shouting, "It hurts. My face hurts so much." By the time he turned back to look for me, I had already disappeared from his sight. I had been with Lucas Carter for 10 years. But it seemed like it took only 2 hours to walk away from him. 2 hours that included the time I packed, the time it took to get home from the company, the moment I saw him cheating, and the slap he gave me. When I first caught Lucas cheating, I completely lost my composure. It's one thing to suspect something, but seeing it with your own eyes is something else entirely. Maybe because some part of me had vaguely sensed it beforehand, I was able to stay surprisingly calm now. Calm enough to pack everything I needed. For whatever I couldn't take with me, I called a junk collector to come pick it up. I even hired someone to help me clean. In just a short time, I cleared out every trace of myself from this house. I even left the keys behind. Before leaving, I stood at the door and looked around one last time at the home Lucas and I had lived in for years. Then I turned around and walked away without looking back. The first time I heard the name Vivian Lane was a year ago. Lucas had said the company had a new intern. My job after graduation had nothing to do with his company, so I rarely went by. When he mentioned there was a new intern, I even curiously asked about it. Lucas frowned, sounding annoyed. "She's unbelievably clueless. A rich family's princess who refuses to stay home and enjoy life, and instead comes to my company to experience the real world. Everything she touches turns into a mess." Hearing that only made me more curious. "Whose princess is she? Did someone place her in your company?" Lucas shook his head. "No, she applied on her own. I saw her family background on her resume." I understood, but those complicated internal company matters never really interested me. I simply soothed him a little so he wouldn't stay irritated. For a while after that, I kept hearing Lucas mention the name Vivian Lane. Every time he did, he acted impatient, as if he really disliked her. But slowly, whenever he talked about her, Lucas started showing signs of admiration. I still remember that day. His tone was relaxed as he said, "Emma, I really underestimated that girl. She looks fragile, but she knows how to talk. Today the company landed a big contract because she negotiated it." I forced myself to ignore the discomfort rising inside me and responded casually. But then I heard Lucas ask, "She performed so well, Emma. What do you think I should give her as a reward?" I froze and looked at him. "Isn't she an employee at your company? If she worked well and solved problems, isn't that what she's supposed to do?" Lucas's eyes darted away. Right, ha. I'll tell finance to give her an extra bonus tomorrow." After that, I stopped hearing him mention Vivian Lane altogether, and I gradually forgot about her. Until one day, when I had time off and decided on a whim to bring him lunch at the company. Then I walked in and caught the two of them standing very close to each other in his office. The moment Lucas saw me, he stiffened, then glanced quickly at Vivian Lane before hurrying toward me with a hint of panic. "Emma, why are you here?" After being with Lucas Carter for so many years, I thought I understood him well. His worried expression at that moment only made me more suspicious. I didn't bother acknowledging Vivian. I simply smiled lightly. "Why can't I come?" Seeing that I wasn't angry, Lucas's expression softened. He stepped forward, pulled me into his arms, and even kissed me lightly on the cheek. "Of course you can come. Everything of mine is yours." I didn't even have time to react when Vivian walked over. That was the first time I met her. She was nothing like the innocent, fresh-faced college graduate I had imagined. Vivian wore a tight-fitting office uniform, the top button of her blouse undone, exposing a deep, full cleavage that looked like it was about to spill out. Her pencil skirt hugged her hips, barely covering what it needed to. Beneath it were sheer black stockings and black heels that made her legs look even slimmer. I quietly assessed her outfit from top to bottom before finally looking at her face. Young, lightly made up, but undeniably beautiful. Yet the way she looked at me was filled with innocent, helpless sweetness. "Mr. Carter, is this my sister-in-law?" Lucas introduced us. I didn't miss the flicker that flashed in Vivian's eyes, a hint of disdain and triumph. She liked Lucas. She even thought I wasn't anything special. I could see that clearly. Maybe from that exact moment, the crack between Lucas and me had already begun to form. That night when we got home, I asked him, "Since when did Vivian become your secretary?" He said it had been a while. I asked again. Why haven't I heard you mention it? Lucas frowned, something he rarely did. That was the company's arrangement. I looked at him seriously. Lucas, I don't like her. Can you not keep her as your secretary anymore? We'd been together for so many years, and I had never demanded anything from him. But this time, I was genuinely uneasy. Vivian was young and beautiful. That alone was an advantage. I was nearing 30. If Lucas ever left me, I honestly didn't know what I'd do. Lucas's face darkened. Emma, don't be unreasonable. Vivian is capable. She got that position because everyone recommended her. He said it without even blinking. If I hadn't spoken earlier with his original secretary, Tina Chen, I might have believed him. Tina had clearly told me that Vivian was personally promoted by Lucas himself. Back then, I had only noticed the disdain in Vivian's eyes and completely forgot to pay attention to Lucas's expression. I didn't avoid it anymore. I asked him directly, "Are you going to marry me?" He nodded firmly. Of course. If I don't marry you, who would I marry? And because of that one sentence, I chose to believe him. Then can you not get too close to Vivian? It makes me unhappy. Lucas smiled, the corners of his lips lifting slightly. So my Emma is jealous, huh? He pulled me into his arms, resting his chin on my shoulder. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll definitely maintain my moral integrity as a man. But I never expected that the very first day he decided to be morally upright, he left me waiting alone while he went out to dinner with Vivian. And when I confronted him, he lied and said he had to work overtime. Worse, he even got angry and questioned me, asking why I was following him. I broke down crying, asking if he was cheating. Lucas said no. He explained that both of them got off work late, so they just grabbed dinner together, and he only lied because he was afraid I'd overthink things. During that period, the two of us fought constantly. He always had something going on with Vivian Lane. Once, when he went on a business trip, he even brought her along. I only found out after they came back. When I stormed into his office, I happened to catch Vivian walking out from inside. I clearly saw her hurriedly fastening the top button of her blouse before she rushed away. I froze on the spot. When Lucas saw me, he didn't look surprised, he only frowned. What are you doing here? My hands hung stiffly at my sides, unconsciously clenching. What were the two of you just doing? Lucas's expression didn't change as he replied calmly. She spilled water on herself. I was helping her. Then he snapped. Emma, what exactly do you want now? You're being a real nuisance. My heart trembled, and all I felt was crushing humiliation. I shouted back, demanding to know why he brought Vivian on his business trip. Lucas didn't even bother to explain. Think whatever you want, Emma. If you don't want to get married anymore, then keep acting like this. Just one sentence, and I felt myself turn to stone. I couldn't say another word. That night, Vivian even added me on WeChat to explain. Sis, there's really nothing between me and Mr. Carter. Don't overthink it, okay? Don't be mad. Getting mad makes you age faster. I didn't answer a single message. That childish provocation, despite being immature, worked frighteningly well. I began doubting everything. I even hired someone to follow the two of them. I also asked a few colleagues in Lucas's company to keep an eye out for me, but nothing suspicious ever turned up. I became sensitive. The smallest thing would make me argue with him, and he began using overtime as an excuse not to come home. At night, he would look at me with disappointment. Emma, what do you want me to do? I already told you, there's nothing between us. Why won't you believe me? I threw a glass of water onto the floor right at his feet, my hands trembling. How am I supposed to believe you? Why is he always in her story posts? Why did you go out to eat with her on our anniversary? Why do you keep seeing her when I already said I don't like it? You know it hurts me, so why? Tell me why. Lucas just looked at me coldly. That look made my whole body feel hollow. I haven't been home because there's a lot of work. Think about it yourself. I screamed, go, just go, don't ever come back. But inside, I was screaming even louder, please turn around, please just comfort me a little, and I'll forgive you. But Lucas only glanced at me with disgust. You look exactly like a crazy person right now. You should calm down for a while. Then he turned around, walked out of the house, and never came back. We stayed in a cold war for over a month. In the end, I was the one who couldn't take it anymore and went looking for him. I truly believed I couldn't live without him. After we made up, Lucas transferred Vivian to another branch. Every day he came home early. He cooked for me, took me out for walks. When I sprained my ankle, he was so distressed he tended to me carefully, taking care of every little thing. It felt like we had returned to how we used to be. Until a few days ago, when I saw a photo Vivian posted on her story. It was from a party with a lot of people. She stood next to Lucas Carter, captioned, "Finally got to stand next to him." I was calm enough to screenshot it and pretend nothing had happened. We were getting married soon. I was about to marry Lucas Carter, achieve the dream I had chased for so long. No matter what happened, she wouldn't be able to stir up anything. That's what I convinced myself to believe. But when I received a message from Vivian, I still panicked and rushed over. Because the content she sent was, "Sis, Mr. Carter is really amazing at that. He said you're boring. He said I never made him feel excited." I rushed to the company and caught them in the act right there. Maybe I had overestimated myself and overestimated Lucas Carter, only to end up having to end a 10-year relationship in the most humiliating way possible, right before our wedding. That slap from Lucas completely destroyed everything I had ever hoped for in him. I packed my luggage and moved back into the small apartment I had bought earlier. My dad had forced me to buy it when both my career and Lucas's career were starting to take off. He had even given me half the money. I had lived here before for a while, 1 bedroom, 1 living room, ready to move in with just a suitcase. Clean, but so lonely. I hated loneliness. My mother died when I was young. When I got older, my father married a stepmother. People always say, if you get a stepmother, you get a stepfather too. That seemed to be true. My stepmother didn't like me, and her family was wealthy. My father was basically the one who married into their family, so I was pushed out to live on my own. I was only in middle school. From then on, I always had to take care of myself. My father still sent me money every month, so much that others would be jealous, but because he was afraid of upsetting my stepmother, Mrs. Chen, he could only meet me secretly. I think I've always lacked love. I hated being alone, but was terrified of being hurt. That was why, even though Lucas chased me for over a year when we were freshmen in college, I still hesitated before agreeing. And once I did, I fell for him blindly and completely. I was afraid of loneliness. I truly wanted to be with Lucas Carter for the rest of my life. My suitcase was still sitting by the door while I lay sprawled on the sofa, my face swollen and red beyond recognition. When I walked into the apartment and looked in the mirror, I clearly saw the imprint of a hand on my cheek. Remembering everything that happened today, I almost wanted to laugh. It all felt like some ridiculous, cliché joke. Since I left, Lucas hadn't called me once. He hadn't even sent a single message. I picked up my phone and scrolled through our old texts. I had kept our entire chat history over the years, but I didn't dare look too long. Those memories were still there, but the person wasn't the same anymore. I deleted all of his contact information, then immediately sent a message to my dad and a few close friends. The wedding is canceled. With only a few days left until the ceremony, if I didn't say anything now, it'd be too late. After sending the messages, I set my phone aside and turned off the ringer. I really didn't want to answer any questions. I was exhausted. After all, I had just been through a huge fight. Thinking about the physical struggle, I even started wondering if I had ended up at a disadvantage. Strangely, the pain, the heartbreak, wasn't as heavy as I expected. For years, I'd always believed I couldn't live without Lucas. But once I truly walked away, I realized it wasn't that big of a deal. I cleaned the apartment a bit and even made some dessert. Right before going to bed, I remembered my phone. As soon as I turned it on, a flood of missed calls and messages popped up, from friends and from my dad. I opened my dad's text. "What happened? Can't the two of you sit down and talk? The wedding is right around the corner. How can you just cancel it?" Seeing the messages made my chest tighten. In the end, I still didn't reply. The person who messaged the most was my best friend, Kelly Lamb. The most recent message was, "I'm on my way to your place." I scrolled up to see the earlier ones. Kelly had just returned from an overseas business trip. The moment she got off the plane, she saw the message that I had canceled my wedding. She kept texting, asking what had happened. Maybe because I hadn't replied at all, she knew something serious had gone wrong. I hadn't even finished reading her messages when the doorbell rang. I got up and opened the door. Kelly stood outside looking exhausted from her long trip, holding a bouquet of flowers and a small cake. When she saw me, her face lit up with a bright smile. "I knew for sure you'd be here." I had been holding in my tears all afternoon, but the moment I saw her, I couldn't suppress them anymore. When Kelly found out what Lucas Carter had done, she exploded in anger. "What the hell, that bastard cheated on you. Who the hell does he think he is? Back then when he chased after you, he promised you everything. Now he flips 180 degrees? I swear I'll beat that worthless dog to death. I'm this close to hiring someone to break his damn legs. I'm so pissed I could explode." Kelly had always been hot-tempered. I'd known her since college, and she was the one who had witnessed the entire difficult journey between me and Lucas. Before this, even when Lucas and I fought over Vivian, I never told Kelly about any of it. I didn't even know what I was thinking back then, just kept everything bottled up. So now, hearing that Lucas had truly cheated, she was both shocked and furious. I hesitated for a moment, but eventually told her everything. Kelly fell silent for a long time before finally gritting her teeth. "Where are those two pieces of trash right now?" I quickly stopped her. "Don't, Kelly, I don't want to see him ever again. If I look at him one more time, I'll feel like I betrayed my own 10 years. If I see him again, I'll remember what I saw that day, how he and Vivian were all over each other. If I look at him one more time, I'll honestly throw up." Kelly couldn't stand seeing me so gloomy. Even though I kept saying I was fine, that I wasn't too sad, she didn't believe me. After staying with me for 2 days, she dragged me out for drinks. I figured I didn't have anything else to do anyway, so I agreed. Because she was worried about crowded places, Kelly even booked a private room. She had 2 days off and was determined to get me drunk before letting me go home. I even teased her, "Anyone watching us would think you're the one who just got dumped." On the way to the private room, I happened to glance back and saw Lucas Carter inside one of the open rooms. It was lively inside, crowded with men and women. Lucas had rarely gone to places like this before, so I truly didn't expect to run into him at a bar. He sat slightly leaning back, his expression indifferent, the corners of his lips always faintly curved. His long fingers held a cigarette, the smoke curling lazily upward. Lucas never smoked before, because I hated the smell of cigarettes. If he ever smoked behind my back, I would get really upset. But now, seeing him like this, I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no longing, nothing. I looked away and was about to keep walking when a voice drifted out from inside the room. "Mr. Carter, why didn't you bring your fiancée tonight?" Lucas let out a low chuckle. "Don't call her that so casually. We're just having some fun. Don't let Emma hear you say things like that or she'll get mad at me again." My feet froze mid-step. For some reason, I wanted to hear what else they were planning to say. A woman's voice chimed in. "Director Carter, do you not like Emma anymore? Why did you go looking for someone else then?" Lucas stayed silent for quite a while. I tilted my head slightly, suddenly wanting to see his expression. Under the dim light, I saw the smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. His voice was light, almost breezy. "It's not that I don't like her. I love her. But after 10 years with someone, it's normal to get tired." A friend of his burst out laughing. "Everyone makes a few mistakes when they're young. Our Lucas is top tier among men, and he's getting married soon anyway. After that, everything will belong to his fiancée." Lucas laughed, clearly agreeing. The woman spoke again, sounding unconvinced. "But didn't Emma get really mad and walk out that day?" Lucas shook his head lightly, as if recalling the sight of me leaving that day. He only saw my back as I walked away. I couldn't deny that he panicked a little then, but he quickly regained his composure. "She's upset? Whatever. The wedding is in a few days. She'll come back on her own and behave. She can't live without me anyway." When he said those words, his eyes and his smile were filled with arrogant confidence, as if he wholeheartedly believed I would never be able to leave him. In that moment, looking at Lucas Carter, he suddenly felt like a complete stranger to me. He knew I loved him so much that I couldn't let go, so he thought he could just hurt me however he pleased. Kelly heard everything too, and she was so furious she almost charged in to hit him. I grabbed her arm and pulled her back. "Don't, Kelly, I don't want anything to do with a man like that anymore. I held her hand and dragged her away from that place. This time, Lucas really was wrong about me. No one on earth is indispensable to anyone. I'm not a fish. I won't die just because I leave the water. I had wasted 10 years of my youth on someone like him. And how many sets of 10 years does a person even get? I returned to my normal routine, going to work, coming home from work, and hanging out with Kelly whenever we were free. Life was calm, but peaceful enough. Lucas Carter had disappeared from my life for a while. On my phone calendar, the date I had once marked as my wedding day was getting closer. Only 5 days left. I calmly deleted the reminder. That day, my father, someone I rarely heard from, called me. He said Miss Hua wanted to meet me. I was surprised, but I agreed to go. I didn't expect that her purpose was to ask me for a favor. It sounded simple, but not entirely effortless. She wanted me to enter a marriage alliance. Their company was facing cash flow issues, and she was out of options. She heard from my dad that I had broken up and canceled the wedding, so she came up with this plan. The Chu family was a powerful business family. Their heir was 28 years old, unmarried, no girlfriend, no boyfriend. So Miss Hua had this idea. She spoke so lightly. Emma, your father has supported you all these years. I never said anything. If you agree, I can give you 1% of Hua Corporation's shares. I understood her real meaning from the very first sentence. She never liked me, never let me step into the house, afraid I'd bully her biological daughter when we were still in middle school, afraid I'd compete for inheritance. But she also didn't stop my father from giving me money. In terms of reason and emotion, she hadn't exactly wronged me. If my dad had no money, the allowance I received was technically hers anyway, but offering me shares that I didn't expect. With an offer like that, only a fool would refuse. I nodded. No problem. Miss Hua froze for a moment, clearly shocked I agreed that quickly. The lecture she had probably prepared got swallowed back down. You're agreeing already? Yes, I answered. It's not a big deal. I'm 28. It's time to settle down, get married, have kids. I don't have any big ambitions, and after what happened with Lucas Carter, I don't believe in love anymore. Living with someone, anyone, is just living. The Chu family seems fine, better than some ugly, awful people I can think of. Afraid I'd change my mind, Miss Hua immediately set up a dinner meeting for the next day. Before leaving, I visited my father, James Carter. He was sitting next to Miss Hua, watching her daughter do homework, the picture of a gentle father and a well-behaved child. I gave them one glance, said nothing, and walked away. Meanwhile, Lucas hadn't been home for several days. He understood perfectly well that Emma Carter couldn't possibly leave him. Cheating before the wedding was his fault. But in his mind, it was just the kind of mistake any man might make. All those years together, Lucas still had only me, but after seeing me for so long, he got bored. He loved Emma Carter. That much wasn't in doubt. The fight that day went a little too far and made him lose face, so he figured he would just act cold for a few days and let things settle. After all, the wedding was coming soon. He knew exactly how long I had waited for that moment, and he was looking forward to it too. But when he thought about being tied to me for the rest of his life, he felt that taking advantage of these last few days to have a little fun shouldn't be a big deal. So for several days in a row, he stayed out. After a few days of ignoring me on purpose, Lucas suddenly realized I still hadn't contacted him at all. Anxiety crept up on him. No matter how we fought before, I was always the one who backed down first. Thinking it through, he also knew he was in the wrong this time. So he decided to swallow his pride and send me a message to make up. But he discovered he had been blocked. His heart dropped straight to the bottom as he rushed home after several days away. The house was clean and neat, but completely empty. Lucas ran to the bedroom. On the vanity, in the closet, everything that belonged to Emma Carter had disappeared. He called my father, but no one answered. He didn't even know where I had gone. He called Kelly Lamb and discovered he was blocked there too. At that point, he really panicked and started preparing to send people to look for me. Vivian Lane, standing beside him and pretending to look worried, said, "Mr. Carter, don't worry too much. She's just jealous. Girls are always like that when they're jealous. She probably just needs some time alone to calm down. Once she's settled, she'll come back to you right away." You two are about to get married, she wouldn't leave you. She's just angry. Hearing that, Lucas relaxed a little. That was right. How could Emma live without him? She'd come back after a few days of sulking. He loved Emma, and Emma loved him. How could either of them walk away? The next day, I went to work. In the morning, as I sat at my desk, I received a message from Miss Hua. The meeting was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon, along with the address. I replied with a single word, okay. Then I asked my manager for an early leave. My relationship with my manager had always been good. She looked at me curiously. Where are you going? I glanced at her. A blind date. Taking a day off to go on a blind date, maybe I was the first to ever do that. My manager froze for a few seconds, looking confused. Wait, weren't you getting married soon? I shook my head. We broke up, the wedding's canceled. If I didn't say it out loud, even I would have forgotten. At lunch, I went down to the cafeteria. A strange number called me. Without thinking, I rejected it. Most of the time, they were scams anyway. Not long after, I received a text message from an unknown number. Emma, there has to be a limit to your tantrums. The wedding is coming up. What are you trying to pull now? Unblock me on WeChat. I stared at those 3 lines for a few seconds, stunned. Honestly, I hadn't thought about Lucas Carter at all these past few days. Seeing his message felt like something from a past life, like I had already started a new chapter, while he stayed stuck where he was. I didn't reply and blocked the number immediately. Thinking about my blind date, I realized being late would be rude. After all, this involved my future security and the future of the Hua family. I arrived 20 minutes early. But the moment I reached the meeting spot, I already saw a man sitting with his back toward me. I froze a little. He's early too? I hurried over. Sorry for keeping you waiting, but the moment he turned around, I was rooted to the spot. Because I knew him. He was Lucas Carter's lifelong rival since our college days. Nathan Chu. Why him? I stared at him, stunned. Nathan pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose, the corner of his lips curving slightly. Good afternoon, Miss Carter. I was completely thrown off. I stood there gripping my handbag, unable to stand properly or sit properly. Nathan Chu raised an eyebrow, looking every bit the refined gentleman. Miss Carter, are you planning to stand and talk to me the whole time? I quickly sat down, still clutching my bag, not knowing what to say. I knew of Nathan Chu because back in college, he and Lucas Carter were always at each other's throats. I never knew the reason, just that whenever those two crossed paths they would argue, sometimes even fight. People said Nathan came from a wealthy family. Everyone called him Young Master Chu. Handsome, smart, and ridiculously rich, back in college, no one shone brighter than he did. I frowned. Aren't you the heir of the Chu family? Nathan nodded. That's right, which means I'm the man who's about to become your husband, Miss Carter. I was speechless, unsure how to respond, staring at him suspiciously. You're that old already. How come you're not married yet? In my head, I muttered, is something wrong with him? In college, I never heard about him having a girlfriend. Don't tell me he likes men. I never questioned it back then, but the more I thought about it now, the more worried I became. Could he possibly like Lucas? And now that he couldn't have him, he's planning to sabotage everything instead? Nathan let out a helpless sigh. Emma, I like women. I was half convinced, half doubtful. Miss Hua probably didn't tell you everything about me. Do you have anything else you want to ask? Since things had come this far, might as well be straightforward. Nathan raised an eyebrow. No, nothing. Honestly, my family has been pressuring me like crazy. I nodded, indicating I understood. Miss Carter, do you have anything else to do later? Work? Why? If not, should we just go register our marriage now? What? This time, I was truly stunned. That fast? Don't you need to talk it over with your family? Nathan shook his head. No need. It has to be done sooner or later. Thinking about it, he wasn't wrong. A marriage alliance like this, once both sides agreed, everything was already settled. Registering the marriage was only a matter of timing. I nodded. Fine. No problem. Luckily, because I had needed some personal paperwork recently, I still had my household registry with me, but I still felt the need to double-check. You don't have any additional conditions for me? Nathan frowned slightly. Just 2. Go ahead. I straightened my back, expecting something business-related. Once we get married, we can't get divorced, right? What others have I want as well. I blinked. What could a man like him possibly be lacking? What do you mean? Nathan looked at me with a seriousness I'd never seen from him, none of the casual aura he usually carried. Commitment, and a proper title. I stared at him, realizing he was genuinely serious, and suddenly felt a bit flustered. With conditions as good as yours? Are you sure you really want to choose me? Nathan chuckled. Miss Carter, what kind of person do you think I am? The Chu family values loyalty above all else. Our family rules are strict. We don't toy with people's feelings. I just haven't liked anyone yet, and my family is pressuring me hard. Marrying you is the best option for now, and once I've decided, I take responsibility. I thought about it. If even someone like him isn't scared of losing out, why should I be? So we reached an agreement very quickly. After finishing our meal, we went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. It wasn't crowded that day, and before long, each of us walked out holding a little red marriage booklet. I stared at the marriage certificate in my hand, my mind completely blank. My emotions were tangled. I didn't even know how I felt. I hadn't even opened it yet when Nathan suddenly took it from my hand. I looked at him in surprise. What are you doing? Nathan slipped both booklets neatly into his bag. Let me hold on to them first. You're not coming home with me today anyway, are you? I'll take them back to inform my family. Thinking it through, he had a point. I still had to go back to the Hua house to report the news. I wondered if Miss Hua would be shocked. After all, it's not every day someone goes on a blind date and walks out with a marriage certificate. I was about to leave when Nathan Chu grabbed my wrist. Where are you going? His hand was warm, hot even, and reflexively, I looked down. He noticed too, but didn't let go. I lifted my eyes at him. Home. Where else? Nathan took out his phone. At some point, he had removed his glasses. His fox-like eyes glimmered under the light, the corner of his lips lifting. Add me on WeChat, sweetheart. My face flushed instantly. Embarrassed, I exchanged contact information with him. It felt unbelievably awkward, humiliating even. I practically bolted right after finishing. Nathan offered to drive me home, but I firmly refused. I rushed straight to the Hua house. Only Miss Hua was there. When I approached, she held a teacup in her hand and looked up at me for a long moment, her face expressionless, her voice icy. So the young master of the Chu family didn't want you? I was speechless for a moment. Why not ask whether I didn't want him? I plopped down on the sofa without bothering to be polite. Miss Hua calmly continued drinking her tea, her eyes slightly narrowed as if calculating her next move. The look on her face told me clearly, if this didn't work out, she'd drag me to the next blind date immediately. I leaned back on the sofa, resting my chin in one hand, watching her sip her tea like some noble lady from an old drama, elegant, composed, annoyingly graceful. Her lips barely touched the rim of the cup as she took tiny, delicate sips. I spoke casually. I just registered my marriage with the Chu family's eldest son. A second later, Miss Hua sprayed tea everywhere. She stared at me with an expression of complete disbelief. The corner of my lips twitched. I nearly burst out laughing. You and the Chu family's young master, registered your marriage already? She was so shocked she forgot to even wipe the tea she'd spilled. I nodded. That's right, we just finished a moment ago. Still in a daze, Miss Hua immediately ran off to make phone calls. I had already said what needed to be said, and there was nothing else worth staying for. I patted my pants, turned around, and left. Seeing her lose composure like that, I had to admit, it felt pretty satisfying. Since I had taken the afternoon off work and had nothing to do, I decided to visit Kelly Lam's studio. She was a designer with her own well-known boutique in City B. I wanted to surprise her, so I went without warning. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw her standing at the entrance, talking on the phone with a dark expression. The moment she hung up and looked up at me, her eyes instantly lit up. Emma, you're here. I laughed, walked over, and looped my arm through hers. I have something good to share with you. Kelly pulled me into her office. What's so important you had to run all the way here to say it? I pretended to be mysterious. I figured telling you in person would be more surprising. Kelly stared at me in anticipation. Hurry up, you're killing me with curiosity. I'm about to become a rich woman. Kelly froze. You won the lottery? I shook my head. No, Miss Hua agreed to give me 1% of Hua Corporation. Kelly's eyes widened. What? Seriously? Why would she suddenly give you shares? I blinked innocently and lowered my voice. I agreed to go on a blind date. If it works out, she'll give them to me. The room fell silent instantly. Kelly's expression darkened. Wait, so she sold you off? And you just let her sell you off? I quickly grabbed her arm before she exploded. Don't get mad yet. I'm afraid you'll get even more mad in a minute. Kelly narrowed her eyes, her gaze sharp. Under her intense stare, I had no choice but to grit my teeth and tell the truth. Just now I went with my blind date partner to register our marriage, I said. Kelly stared at me, expression blank, her face frozen. Emma, have you lost your mind? Marriage is a huge deal. Even if Lucas hurt you, you can't be impulsive like this. I quickly cut her off. It's not that. Listen to me first. I didn't do it because of Lucas. I was honestly tempted by that 1% share. If there's no love, then at least there should be money, right? Kelly nodded, but she still looked doubtful. You're sure she didn't force you into this? No, definitely not. Aren't you curious who the blind date was? Kelly pouted. You registered already. Sooner or later I'll meet him anyway. Say it, who's so mysterious? I lowered my voice. Nathan Chu? Nathan Chu? Kelly stayed calm for exactly 1 second before bang, she slammed her hand on the table. What? Who did you just say? I knew she'd react like that. Back in college, Kelly was obsessed with school gossip. And Nathan Chu was the name she mentioned the most. Handsome, rich, with a fan club so large it could form a small nation. The rumors surrounding him were endless. There was even a viral thread on the school forum about who would ultimately conquer young Master Chu. Kelly was so shocked she just sat there frozen. I sat next to her, casually scrolling through WeChat moments. After a while, I saw that Nathan had just posted something, a photo of our 2 marriage booklets, with the caption, "It's official." A few mutual friends commented below, "Is your account hacked?" I couldn't help laughing. Kelly snapped out of it and leaned over to look. Oh my God, it's real. Since I had nothing else to do, I stayed at Kelly's studio for the whole afternoon. During that time, Miss Hua called. Judging by her tone, she had already confirmed the marriage. Her voice was much softer. She told me the wedding would be held in 3 days. I was stunned. That fast? Miss Hua didn't bother explaining. She simply said that since we already had the marriage certificate, and 3 days from now was an auspicious date, both families had discussed it and agreed. Then she hung up, leaving me sitting there dazed. Kelly saw my blank face and asked, "What's wrong?" I licked my dry lips. Miss Hua said the wedding will be in 3 days. What? That fast? We haven't prepared anything. Kelly jumped up, then suddenly froze. I looked at her, confused. Didn't your wedding with Lucas Carter originally get scheduled for 3 days later too? I fell silent. She was right, almost eerily so. Nathan called, telling me to come try on wedding dresses. Kelly came with me as my bridesmaid. When we arrived, Nathan still wasn't there, so I decided to wait and wandered around with Kelly. I didn't expect to run straight into Vivian Lane and Lucas Carter. The air instantly turned painfully awkward. The moment Lucas saw me, panic flashed in his eyes, and he instinctively let go of Vivian's hand. Emma, why are you here? I stared at him without expression, glancing once at his flustered face, then at Vivian's smug one. What, I'm wandering around? What, does your family own this mall? Am I not allowed to be here? Lucas stepped closer, reaching for my hand. That's not what I meant. It's been a while since I last saw you. Kelly couldn't hold it in anymore. She snapped. Then why didn't you look for her, huh? Instead, you're dragging this tramp around everywhere. Are you afraid people don't know you cheated? Lucas's face darkened instantly. Emma, it's not what you think. I invited Miss Lane here to help pick out a gift for you. I wanted to surprise you. I honestly felt like throwing up. Lucas, we were together for 10 years. Is there anything about me that you don't know? To the point you need another woman to choose a gift for me? Vivian stepped forward. Emma, please don't misunderstand. Mr. Carter really asked me to come. He just wanted to learn what girls like. So it'd be easier to pick out a gift for you, Vivian finished softly. I looked her up and down without bothering to respond. Vivian bit her lip, her face full of wounded innocence. Mr. Carter, I don't think she likes me. Lucas responded automatically, that's not true, and stepped forward, his expression tightening. Emma, I really did ask Miss Lane to help. Stop making a scene, okay? I frowned, genuinely amused. Was he suffering from memory loss? Lucas Carter, were you in an accident recently? Did a car hit you? Did your brain get knocked loose? If you don't remember what happened that day, I'd be more than happy to remind you. Lucas's face went pale. Emma, I only want to marry you. You know that. The wedding is in a few days. Please stop being angry. I stared at him quietly for a long time. He already had wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. His figure had begun to thicken. He used to have a nice build, a clean and handsome face. I didn't know when he had turned into this. Maybe today was the first time I truly realized what about him was worth holding on to. I let out a soft laugh. All right, Lucas's eyes lit up instantly. He stepped closer and grabbed my hand. Emma, I swear I'll be good to you from now on. If you marry me, you'll be the happiest bride in the world. I glanced at Vivian, whose face had gone stiff with panic, and smiled faintly. Sure. It's just that the person I'm marrying isn't you. Lucas froze. Then he asked when I would be coming home, saying I should move back before the wedding. I made an excuse, saying it was bad luck to meet before the ceremony. While he kept talking about wedding details, Vivian had already slipped away quietly. Lucas noticed, but didn't chase after her. Instead, he insisted I unblock him on WeChat. After I finally shooed him off, Kelly spoke up. Why didn't you let me say something? Don't tell me you wavered for a second. I looped my arm through hers as we walked back. Relax, just teasing him a little. When Kelly and I returned to the meeting spot, Nathan was already there. He dressed simply today. Black t-shirt, blue jeans, half-rim glasses. Honestly, he looked exactly like the type of campus crush every girl fell for in college. Kelly squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. She leaned toward my ear and hissed, practically yelled, "Oh my God, he is so hot! Look at his arms, his shoulders, his waist. He's basically a model." I grabbed her quickly. Lower your voice. If Nathan hears you comparing him to a model, we're dead. I walked over and introduced them. Nathan nodded politely. His eyes didn't linger on Kelly for more than 2 seconds, but when he looked at me, his eyes softened, curving slightly at the corners. Can I call you Emma? He asked. I nodded. Kelly muttered beside me. Shouldn't he be calling you wife? I smiled and pinched her arm discreetly. Professional chaos maker. After we wrapped up, Nathan drove me home. When we arrived at my building, I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. I turned to him, confused. Nathan still had one hand on the steering wheel. After the wedding, will you move in with me, or should I move in with you? I blinked. The image of my tiny one-bedroom apartment flashed in my mind. I didn't even need to think. I'll move in with you. The corner of Nathan's mouth curved upward. All right, though technically, it's not really my place. I bought that house as our marital home. I heard newlyweds are supposed to have a new house. I honestly hadn't expected that. I hesitated a moment, then asked, should I thank you then? Nathan laughed. No need. Between us there's no your or my. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is still yours. No pressure. It's the Chu family tradition. I let out a small laugh. The Chu family really is something else. As the wedding day drew closer, I found myself unexpectedly nervous. Recently, whenever Nathan had free time, he came to see me, something he called building emotional connection. He even took me to visit the Chu family home. And it was nothing like the Hua household. The Chu family was warm, lively, full of noise and laughter. Everyone in the Chu family was warm and friendly. Nathan's mother held my hand and wouldn't let go. She seemed to like me a lot, which made me a little flustered. As for Lucas, one day he personally delivered the wedding dress he had prepared for me. I wasn't home at the time, and Miss Hua didn't say anything. She simply accepted it. When I returned and saw it, my eyes lingered on that gown, the one I had dreamed of wearing countless times. A dull ache rose in my chest. Not because of Lucas, but because of the version of myself who once yearned for it. Miss Hua said only one sentence. Emma, a woman relying on herself is the only real safety. The night before the wedding, I stayed at the Hua house. A few relatives from the Hua side also came. Kelly, who was my bridesmaid, stayed with me. Little Harper Hua kept clinging to me out of curiosity. Miss Hua looked slightly displeased but didn't say anything. My father, George Carter, secretly slipped me a card saying it was money he had saved up. I smiled and accepted it. Late at night, Lucas called. I picked up but didn't speak. His voice sounded careful. Emma, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning, okay? I didn't answer. Instead, I asked, Lucas Carter, do you love me? He responded almost instantly, as if afraid I wouldn't believe him. I love you. I really love you. Emma, we're getting married tomorrow. We'll be together for the rest of our lives. I'm really happy. Emma, I cut him off. What about Vivian Lane? How do you plan to handle that? He didn't hesitate at all, speaking anxiously. Emma, there's nothing between me and her. It was just fooling around. I wasn't serious. Just this once. Please believe me, Emma. As he spoke, I scrolled through the private photos Vivian had sent me that morning. The backgrounds were different, clearly, not just once. It was laughable, really. Vivian had also sent several messages. Even if Lucas marries you, so what? He still loves me. You're old already. I'm younger. You'll just end up divorced anyway. I truly couldn't understand how much she liked Lucas. Like she said herself, she was young, pretty, had options. And Lucas? His belly had started to bulge. His looks were average at best, nowhere near the college guys she could have. I couldn't make sense of it, so I messaged her directly. A long time later, she finally replied, Lucas and I grew up together. If I hadn't gone abroad, you wouldn't have had a chance. Suddenly, everything made sense. Lucas had never mentioned this to me. There was nothing left to say. After a few indifferent words, I hung up. And then, unexpectedly, I grew curious. Tomorrow, when Lucas stands at the altar and the bride doesn't show up, how will he react? Before I could linger on the thought, my phone rang again. Nathan, I answered immediately, thinking something might have happened. Nothing's wrong, he said. I just wanted to know what you're doing. His voice through the phone was warm and soothing, just like always. I'll come pick you up a little early tomorrow morning. I nodded, then remembered he couldn't see me nodding, so I said, okay. Nathan chatted a bit more, random things. Suddenly, a thought popped into my mind and I smiled as I asked, Are you nervous, Nathan? There was a moment of silence, then he let out a helpless laugh. I thought you wouldn't notice. I'm a little nervous, but mostly excited. My lips curved without me realizing. Feeling amused, I said casually, Don't worry, next time you won't be nervous. The moment the words left my mouth, I froze, realizing what I had just implied. Meanwhile, Nathan Chu pretended to sound wounded. Emma, you can't say things like that. I snapped back to reality and hurried to apologize. My mouth really was faster than my brain sometimes. Thankfully, Nathan was easy to coax, far easier than Lucas ever was. With Lucas, every time I tried to smooth things over, I was always the one who ended up hurt. Thinking about him now, I didn't feel much anymore. Humans really do learn to move forward. On our wedding day, Nathan arrived very early to pick me up. The venue was huge and packed with guests. Miss Hua and my father, George Carter, were rushing back and forth preparing things. When Nathan lifted me out of the car, I froze for a moment. It was the first time he and I had ever had such close physical contact. Up until now, he had always kept a polite, gentlemanly distance. He had never once crossed any boundary, unlike Lucas. Nathan clearly worked out often. His body was solid, tall, with large hands. His arms supported my legs firmly, steady and secure. The surroundings were noisy, full of voices. I leaned into his chest, hearing his heartbeat thumping loud and strong. Thump, thump, thump. My heart began beating faster, too. Somehow, strangely, the two rhythms aligned. Amid the noise of the crowd, Nathan tilted his head and whispered near my ear, Emma, you look absolutely beautiful today. His words calmed me immediately, easing the tension in my chest. If we hadn't been at a wedding, I would have asked him. So I wasn't beautiful before. He must have read the question in my eyes, because he added softly, You're always beautiful. This man definitely had strong survival instincts. Before getting into the car, I saw my father standing by the door, secretly wiping tears. I gently waved at him. Dad, take good care of yourself, okay? Over at the Carter house, Lucas had also woken up early. He had barely slept. Part of it was excitement. He believed he was finally marrying the woman he loved most. Part of it was because Vivian Lane had been calling and crying all night. It had taken forever to calm her down. After changing into his suit, Lucas found the house bustling with people. He sent a message to me, but got no reply, anxiety creeping in again. But the auspicious time to pick up the bride was set at 5 a.m., still an hour away. His parents were preparing, and some of his coworkers were already there. A few people began whispering nearby. Hey, did you hear? The Chu family is also having a wedding today. The Chu family? Which one? The Chu family in South City. Lucas was walking past and stopped abruptly. The Chu family is having a wedding today. The person replied immediately. Yeah, totally sudden, no one heard a thing beforehand. A wave of uneasiness rose sharply inside Lucas. Nathan Chu had never publicly dated anyone before, so why would he suddenly get married? And besides, hadn't Nathan always... Lucas immediately called Nathan. The call rang for a long time, but no one picked up. At 5 a.m., just as the Carter family was getting ready to leave to pick up the bride, someone appeared at the front gate, blocking the entire procession. Lucas stepped out of the car, face tense, annoyed that they might miss the auspicious time. Apologies, Mr. Carter, the person said. I've been asked to deliver a message to you. There's no need to pick up the bride. The moment those words fell, the uneasiness Lucas had been suppressing exploded inside him. His entire body stiffened. What happened? He demanded. Miss Emma Carter has already gotten married, so you don't need to pick her up. The sentence struck him like lightning. Lucas stood rooted in place, pupils tightening, not even blinking. When he finally managed to speak, his voice was hoarse. What did you say? Married? I hadn't even reached the time he was supposed to pick me up, but the messenger merely shook his head. I don't know anything more. Mrs. Hua only asked me to deliver the message. When the man finally walked away and disappeared from sight, Lucas Carter was still standing exactly where he was, frozen in place, unmoving. People in the convoy rushed out of the cars, asking what was going on. Lucas suddenly remembered the news, Nathan Chu getting married out of nowhere. His thoughts grew darker and darker, something heavy pressing down on his chest until he could barely breathe. His voice came out rough and strained as he gave the order. Find out where the Chu family is holding their wedding. Even though everything had been planned quickly, the Chu family's preparations, from the venue to every surrounding detail, were immaculate. Perfect, down to the last corner. Nathan and I stood facing each other. The host held a microphone, his voice echoing through the hall. We recited our vows together, and when it came to exchanging rings, the host announced loudly, "And now, we invite the groom to kiss the bride." Suddenly, nerves shot through me. Through the veil, I saw Nathan's face slowly moving closer. My heart pounded so fast it felt like it would burst right out of my chest. Nathan's eyes were filled with warmth. He gently lifted my veil, and the very next second, he leaned down and kissed me. His lips were cool and soft, and his familiar clean scent washed over me like a wave. His kiss was feather light, no more than a soft touch, but his eyes shone like they were filled with stars. It wasn't until the host began counting down that Nathan finally pulled away, right at the last second. He leaned close to my ear, voice low and husky. "The bride is mine." My heart genuinely skipped, not because of nervousness or fear, but because of pure, simple fluttering warmth. The Chu wedding wasn't large. Only close friends, relatives, and a few senior executives were invited. By the time Lucas found the venue, the ceremony had already ended. After seeing off the last of the guests, Nathan told me to go rest. He must have noticed how I kept pressing my lips together and walking slower and slower. I nodded. Wearing heels all day had definitely worn me out. I was about to head back when suddenly a hoarse, broken shout erupted behind me. "Emma!" I stopped mid-step and slowly turned around. It really was him. Lucas stood there in his rumpled groom's tuxedo, looking nothing like the proud man he used to be. Nathan frowned, muttering under his breath, "Didn't I tell them not to let him in? They can't even handle one person." Lucas launched forward and punched Nathan straight in the face. "You bastard!" Nathan wasn't prepared and staggered back. I rushed over to hold him steady, then turned sharply toward Lucas with disbelief boiling inside me. "Are you out of your mind?" Lucas's eyes were red. His gaze moved to me, and the moment he saw the wedding ring on my finger, his entire body trembled. It was as if someone had slammed a fist into his chest, knocking the air out of him. His voice cracked. You're Mary frowned, already feeling fed up. "Yes, so from now on, do me a favor and stop bothering me." Lucas stared at me with wounded eyes. "Why? Didn't you love me the most? Why would you marry someone else?" I looked at him as if I were truly seeing him clearly for the first time. "Lucas, you cheated on me. Remember? I don't need a filthy man." He fell apart, confusion, panic, disbelief crashing over him. It was like an invisible hand was crushing his heart. His hand reached toward mine, trembling uncontrollably. I can explain, Emma. I looked at the man I had loved for 10 years, my expression empty, a cold smile brushing my lips. Lucas, no matter what you say, it won't change the fact that you betrayed me. If you had admitted it, maybe I could have looked at you differently. But you wanted both me and her. Those 10 years? Completely wasted. I finished speaking in one breath and looked straight at him. The moment he chose to betray me, he should have known one thing: we were over. Lucas Carter was speechless, staring at me in shock. His eyes were red, as if just one more sentence from me would make him break down completely. And right then, I realized that I had finally let everything go. Lucas had once loved me. I didn't doubt that. But that didn't stop him from choosing someone else. As for Vivian Lane, I had already forwarded to Lucas every single message she ever sent me, including the not-so-innocent things she'd done abroad. She wanted to pretend to be some pure, flawless white flower in his eyes, but I wasn't going to let it slide. I wanted Lucas to see exactly how interesting the woman he chose really was. Nathan gently wiped the corner of my mouth, then looked at the bruise forming there. That punch earlier was definitely not light. I touched it lightly and winced. It really did sting a bit. Does it hurt? Nathan lowered his eyes and hummed faintly. A little. Lucas's irritated voice came from behind us. You think Nathan Chu is a good person? Do you even know he likes you? He stole things you've used and kept them like some creep. I blinked, startled, and turned toward Nathan with confusion. He likes me? Lucas continued as if he'd finally uncovered the ultimate truth. He even took the straws you used and hid them. If that's not a pervert, then what is it? Why do you think he and I were always at odds? It's because he used to secretly follow us around like some deranged stalker. Nathan's eyes flickered slightly. He looked a little flustered. Emma, I didn't. I stared at him without expression. Didn't what? You didn't like me? Or you didn't secretly take the things I used? Nathan fell silent. I let out a laugh, half angry, half amused. Great. We'll talk about this later. Then I turned back to Lucas. For the first time, I realized I truly hated him. Thank you for telling me. Now you can leave. Lucas opened his mouth like he wanted to say more, but the security guards had already arrived and escorted him out. I looked back at Nathan and let out a small laugh. You hid that well. Without waiting for him to respond, I turned around and walked off. Nathan immediately hurried after me, reaching for my hand. When I didn't pull away, he laced his fingers through mine and held on tightly. Emma, I'm not a creep. I only thought you didn't want those things anymore, so I never kept your straws. He made that up. After all the guests had been escorted out by Nathan's parents, he and I returned to our room. As soon as we stepped inside, he sat down and began massaging my feet. It was strange having someone touch my feet like that. I instinctively tried to pull back, but Nathan held me firmly. Let me. If I don't do this, they'll hurt tonight. Since I couldn't pull away, I let him continue. So, when exactly did you start liking me? That was what I was most curious about. As far as I remembered, I had barely interacted with him before. Nathan didn't look up. He continued massaging my foot. A long time ago. I stared at him in surprise. Why didn't I know? Back then, you only had eyes for Lucas. How could you possibly notice me? I fell silent. Did he really like me back when I was still with Lucas? Come to think of it, that would explain why I never noticed. I kept staring at the top of his head as a thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Hold on. Was this arranged marriage? Something you orchestrated? His hands paused for a brief second before he slowly looked up, lips curving. You figured that out too? My eyes widened. So it was you? He nodded. Emma, I've liked you for a long time. The moment I heard you broke up with Lucas, I made my decision. Feelings can grow with time, but I didn't want to miss my chance with you. Nathan said softly, I'm sorry. As long as you don't want a divorce, you can hit me, yell at me, whatever you want, I'll take it. And about the Hales' financial issues, it's true they needed a marriage alliance. I just took the initiative a little. I laughed. I agreed to the alliance marriage myself. What are you apologizing for? Seeing that he still looked a little uneasy, I hooked a finger into the collar of his shirt. Didn't you say you liked me? Let me see exactly how much you like me. Nathan's entire body stiffened. His eyes darkened, his breathing suddenly heavier. His voice dropped, low and hoarse. Emma, Don't tease me. Save it for tonight, okay? Then panicked. He practically ran out of the room. I burst out laughing behind him. God, how could someone be this pure and adorable? After we got married, life with Nathan was peaceful and genuinely happy. For the first time in my life, I felt what a real family was. I hadn't heard anything about Lucas Carter in a long while, until one day, Nathan told me the Carter family had gone bankrupt. Because Lucas couldn't marry me, he poured all his anger onto Vivian Lane, even going so far as to lock her up at his house. But the Vaughn family wasn't easy to deal with. They were a powerful clan. They eventually managed to rescue her, and when they did, she was in such a miserable state, she barely looked human anymore. Vivian's father immediately contacted the media and the police. Lucas was arrested and his company's stock price plummeted. The internet exploded with scandals about him. Someone even dug up the fact that he once had a girlfriend of 10 years who broke up with him because he cheated. Within moments, Lucas Carter became the internet's most hated man, attacked and condemned everywhere. Thinking about it now, it was almost funny. He had been the one to plan the entire wedding. Even the venue was that place I had once dreamed about so many times. I couldn't help sighing. After being with him for so long, I truly never realized Lucas had such a dark, ugly side. Nathan thought I was heartbroken. I didn't show anything during the day, but at night, he took out all his emotions on me. To the point I screamed myself hoarse, and he still didn't stop. Sometimes he would kiss me, murmuring against my lips, "Emma, you really are made of water. I love you so much, Emma. Why won't you say anything to me?" I was so exhausted I could barely lift my arms. He held me, shifted me easily into his arms. All I could hear was the sound of our tangled breaths. "Emma, relax," he whispered as I drifted off. Then, right before sleep claimed me, I heard his voice, quiet, low, and careful near my ear. "Emma, please don't talk about him anymore." This man was unbelievably petty and jealous, but I liked him so much. "You have to love me for the rest of your life," I murmured, and Nathan Chu whispered back, "Emma Hale, I promise I'll love you for the rest of mine."